You're
That
host
works.
now.
Yeah.
I just assigned you host.
Yeah.
Councillor Michelle, are you good for a sec?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go through the process
Okay, so.
and then I have to go to meeting manager.
Sorry.
I don't know, I came in as Town of Oliver again. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, thanks. I know when I'm on my iPad, it comes in as Town of Oliver, even though I didn't sign in as Town of Oliver. I just hit the link. It should just go in.
Kathy, are you on your new speaker thing? Webcam?
I have no speaker, but I am on my.
Okay, so I assume you can hear me as well on my new webcam.
Yes.
Thanks.
Technology is a wonderful thing. Are we ready to go?
We're not all here, I don't think.
Councillor Michelle is, Matt's helping Councillor Michelle. Oh, there he is.
And what about Petra?
She's not in yet.
Okay.
Missing Petra still too.
I just she's not getting. She doesn't have the link. She needs the link to the meeting.
Yeah, Matt will have to send her one because they're separate links.
I'll let her know that.
Can you hear me, Martin?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, just I had the same problem. I tried to go through the other link and it didn't work, so it's a separate link.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can hear you
each
good.
meeting's got its own link.
A link is being sent to Councillor Ventimiglia.
Am I there?
You are, Dave.
Thank you.
There's Petra.
She's coming.
Kathy,
I'm here.
yeah, maybe
Yes.
have Matt send I've got the regular one from before, but just have him send it and then it'll be at the top of the email list. It'll be easier to get in later for regular.
I'll tell
Okay.
Matt.
Yeah, just have him
Thank you.
resend it. Just makes it easier to have to look for it.
I used the link that was in the email, and I think if you go on your calendar, there's another link there. They either one should work.
Yeah, I didn't get one for the committee. Now he sent it and it worked. But the one for the regulars there from last Thursday, it's there, but you never know. These things don't work sometimes. So if he resends it, we know it'll work.
Diane, are we webcasting and ready to go?
Yes, we are.
Great. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. This is the Committee of the Whole meeting for the Town of Oliver for Monday, January 11th. And I will ask the CAO, I'm sorry, if there's any late items.
No, there are not.
Okay. So the adoption of the agenda, can I have a motion that the agenda be adopted as circulated?
So moved.
Moved
Thank
or
you.
seconded.
Thank you. No further discussion. Is anyone opposed to the motion? Motion is carried. Adoption of prior minutes, the adoption of the December 14th, 2020 Committee of the Whole meeting. Do I have a mover for adoption?
I'll move
Move.
adoption. It's Councilor Ventilla.
Thank you. Seconder?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed to the motion? Motion is carried. On to water matters, the 2018-2022 strategic plan, fourth quarter update. The CAO's report is attached, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Cowan.
Thank you, Chair Schwarzenberger. This update is for council's fourth quarter for 2020. And due to the COVID, as you can remember, due to COVID, council did have two additional planning sessions, one July 6th and one August 10th. However, I'm not sure, you may want to consider setting a date to review the strategic plan for 2021 and determine if there are any changes that need to be undertaken. As noted in the plan, there have been movement on a number of the initiatives that council has identified. As well, the date for the Parks Master Plan has been adjusted as Oliver Parks and Recreation has adjusted their timeline for updating the master plan to 2022 due to the funding not provided in 2021. As well, the junior council priorities have had an impact by the COVID-19. So those are, although there hasn't been a lot of movement on those since March. Over the last quarter, there are a number of things that I did. I'm sure you've all read this report, and so I'm not going to just repeat what's there. It shows you that I've been doing some work. And then there's also the work plans for the different departments. I do want to go down. There's a lot of movement that has been done in all of the department work plans, but I do want to come down to the fourth quarter development services update. And I don't know if you had the opportunity to look at the Kindness Counts program that they're looking at trying to implement. I will pass it over to Randy if you have questions with regards to that. And as well, the implementation of the Grow Oliver strategy, the Buy Local program was established in the last quarter as well. We've been very busy. The COVID protocols, they really took a toll on us and making sure that we were able to still keep an open dialogue with the community. And so we've put in a number of different social media items, and we've enhanced our website to allow for that public engagement. And it was used for the Packing House Lane project, which tested that, and we're going to be using it again for public hearings going forward. But we don't have any as of yet, so we're hoping that that'll work fine. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. If you have anything that you'd like clarification on.
I'll take questions from council. However, I don't think I am not the host, so I don't think I can see who's raising their hand and not. So perhaps Diane, you could field the hand requests. And I see Amy's raised her hand the old fashioned way, so I'll let Amy start off and Petra next.
Thank you, Chair Schwarzenberger. And I think if you hit your participants list button, Councillor Schwarzenberger, because I can see who has their hands up that way, that might help. So just a couple comments. Junior Council, I've got a lead. I'm going to speak to Allison Podmorrow. She works with the LINK crew, who are students who are already in a leadership role within the high school. So I'm going to have a chat with her and see if I can do some socially distanced face-to-face with the students, just to talk to them in person about the project rather than trying to have a teacher sort of be the middleman on that. And something else too, just on the CAO chatting about the challenges of communication. I'm really missing our coffee with council, and I'm wondering if we'd have any success trying to do that virtually, if we just did a Zoom call like this with members of the community without a specific topic in mind, but just sort of a, you know, bouquets and beefs sort of thing. And so I may even just do one of my little informal Facebook surveys and see if anyone's interested in that. You never know, you could be opening up a can of worms, but I guess that's kind of the point. So yeah, just to put that out there, if anyone else on council is maybe interested, we could try to do something like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ventimiglia.
Thank you. Before I go on to my points, just on Councillor Grice's suggestion there of holding some sort of a virtual coffee with council, I've found from the other meetings that I've been participating in and attending via Zoom, we've started to attract like a whole crowd of people that may not have been engaged before, that may have had troubles, you know, getting to wherever the meeting was at whatever time it was, or just, you know, childcare issues and that sort of thing. So it might be fun to try. We definitely need a strong moderator if we got a big crowd, but those sorts of details could be worked out. So it would be, I'd be totally on board for trying something like that. And I just wanted to, I have a couple of questions about the plan, actually, nothing too intense, but just on the green building priorities, the Go Green initiatives. So we had one of our items there, staff to investigate and develop incentives for developers to go green, and it says that it's ongoing. And I recognize that it's something that's always ongoing, but we did have a presentation, I think within this last year, on the STEP code. And so I was just wondering and hoping that it's in the plan in the not too distant future to somehow look at integrating like an accelerated STEP code options into like incentives for going above and beyond ahead of schedule into our building permit fees or something like that, the discussion we had at the time. So putting more of a finite date on that, I'd be interested in. And a couple of other questions. This one is for Director Goodsell. And I noticed on the Tuckalnuit Drive repainting, it says that MOTI will be changing line painting in the spring at no cost to the town. I'm just wondering, we all know that we were all caught off guard when that started happening last year. And I'm just wondering how that all went down, what the conversations were, and if they're going to be following our traffic calming recommendations. Thank you. I had one more, but I can't find it, so I may jump in again in a bit.
Mr. Goodsell.
Thank you. When we talked to the Ministry of Transportation, they did see a need to put a double yellow, or been at least convinced in doing that. So it doesn't indicate or allow people to think that they should be passing in town on that stretch of road. As far as narrowing the shoulder lines or doing any other additional painting, they didn't agree to anything like that, but they said that they would cover the costs of doing the painting in the spring.
Thank you. Councillor Grice.
Thank you, Chair Schwarzenberger. One other thing I forgot, just on the topic of downtown revitalization. Some of you may have seen the emails that were circulating earlier between Director Houle and Sean and myself about the Community in Bloom project that went on about a decade ago. So Betty Lou Trimmer Bonson has gifted me with a file box full of basically all of the paperwork from the project. So I guess I'd have a question for the CAO or for the corporate officer, if those items have been archived already, or if that's something, because I think that's probably a good home for that project, or to review that project would be with the Downtown Development Committee. But I'm just wondering if that's that information we already have somewhere, or if that should be brought to the town for archival or review. Thank you.
You might want to bring it to the town so that we can review it to see if we have it or not in our records.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I don't see any hands up.
Okay.
So seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on accepting the 2018-2022 strategic fourth quarter update. CAO.
Thank you very much. Before you do that, is council wanting to set a date for a review of the strategic plan, or do you feel that you've provided us enough direction last year to move forward with the projects that you identified in July and August?
I have two hands up, so perhaps they can mention their thoughts on that question as we go along. Councillor Ventimiglia first.
Thank you. I put my hand up for another reason, because I found my last point, but I'll answer that question first. To me, I think we had some really great conversation in the summer, and I think we chose a strong direction, but it never hurts, in my opinion, to check back in and make sure we're on the right track. So I would absolutely be in favor of another conversation, maybe like within the next couple of weeks around budget time or before budget time, just to make sure that we're still on the track that we want to be on. But the quick question, or the other point that I had, was around implementing traffic calming. And so we spoke a lot in the summer about the traffic calming recommendations around Fairview Station Street. And I see that it was pushed out to 2022. And I just want to make sure that that doesn't get missed, and that it's definitely sort of like in the first quarter or two of this year, because that's pretty crucial information to have. And I see the CAO's hand up. If you don't, Councillor.
Go ahead, CAO.
Thank you, Chair. Okay.
Chair Big Letter.
We have the traffic, we did have some studies done around that intersection of Fairview and Station Street. And we're just waiting for a few more, they're reviewing some of the information because it was missing. So that should be coming within the first quarter of this year with regard to the traffic calming at that intersection.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mattis, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Chair. It was more around having another session to go back to that track that we were on. I don't think there's time before budgeting to hold anything. And any changes we would make would be reflected in the budget. So we're pretty much locked into what we have until we review after the budget.
Thank you. Sean, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I did, and then I lowered it. I was just going to expand on what the CAO was talking about. Yeah, we're doing a little bit of additional work. The initial analysis they did on Fairview and Station, they were missing some information that we know council will want to see. So they're just putting in the additional work, and hopefully within a month here, we'll or a few weeks that we'll get that report and it will be presented to council. And this is a consultant company outside of True that True found. It's Watt Engineering that they do traffic studies, and it's their forte basically.
Great, thank you. Any further comments? For myself, I would agree with Councillor Mattis that we should get through budget and maybe look at reviewing the strategic plan in the spring when we can all be together and not be doing it on Zoom. So if there's no other comments, I'll see what council wants to do about accepting this fourth quarter update.
I will move receipt of the fourth quarter update.
Thank you, Councillor Grice. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Mayor Johansson. Any further comment? Hearing none, is anyone opposed to the motion? Motion carries. The next item under business F1 is bylaw amendments for downtown design guidelines. The Director of Development Services report is attached, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Houle.
Thank you, Chair Schwarzenberger. I'll share my screen here and get started. Are you able to see my screen there?
Yes.
Nope.
Awesome.
Why? How come I don't need to be in this part of it.
All right, so I'm here today to discuss the proposed bylaw amendments, downtown design guidelines, and DPs for duplexes. The purpose of this report is to introduce proposed amendments to the OCP that will require the use of building material and colors in the downtown core that are reflective of the local context and historical references, while also requiring development permits for the construction of duplexes. To accommodate this proposed changes, amendments will be required to the delegation bylaw, land use procedure bylaw, and fees and charges bylaw. Bit of a background: as part of council's strategic plan, one of the downtown revitalization priorities is for staff to work with the Downtown Advisory Committee to develop design standards and guidelines. At the October 21st Downtown Advisory Committee meeting, staff presented the proposed exterior building material and color guidelines. The committee recommended to apply the proposed guidelines to all commercial areas within the town. Staff, however, have concerns with both the logistical challenges and pushback of including all of the commercial properties, as that would include both malls and several periphery residential properties that are currently included in that area. Another priority of the strategic plan is to implement a facade improvement program. This program was put on hold until the establishment of the downtown design guidelines. I'll talk a little bit about the proposed guidelines. This image here derived from the Wine Village plan that was completed in 2008. So it encourages colors that are reflective of the local context and color. So you'll see that there's the blue for sky, there's green for landscapes, that purpley color for viticulture, and so on. It also encourages materials that utilize local materials and historic references, such as glass and rock and wood and steel and rammed earth and concrete. It's important to note too that these are guidelines, so that does not mean that a person would have to use these colors, but they'd have to use the colors or the materials, but they'd have to prove as to why the color or material that they've chosen meets this the guidelines that are reflective of the local context and character, etc. The other major amendment would be to the Schedule F development permit areas map. So I just wanted to touch on it. The black area is the area that staff have identified that would be most applicable for this exterior building material color guidelines. So you'll see it starts to the north. It includes the properties there with the new Dairy Queen potentially coming soon, and those residential properties that are part of the town center development permit area. Are you able to see my mouse where I'm pointing on this?
Yes.
Okay, excellent, thanks. And then it moves down, so it includes the properties on the west side of Main Street all the way down to the doctor's office there at the intersection of Co-op and Main. And the three properties, 6004, 6008, and 6010, were originally not included. They're in the commercial development permit area, but I felt it was needed that these would be transitioned into the town center development permit area and then also be included in this exterior building material guideline area, just because it is right adjacent to those properties. It's not separated by a road, and these properties are likely to redevelop in the near future. And then this boundary follows, so it would not include Chevron, and then it would come sort of along Main Street and then drop down to Station Street and include the properties that are within the town center development permit area. And then of course it would include all of Station Street, where is sort of the subject to revitalization efforts by council in the past year and will continue in the future. The other major change would be this orange area here. This is part of the industrial development permit area currently. This area through the OCP in 2017 transition, it was identified to transition to commercial. The new zoning, or the zoning bylaw 1380 in 2018 actually changed the zoning of all these properties to commercial. Oops, let's go back, sorry. It changed the zoning to commercial, so it's only fitting that the development permit area guideline should also change to commercial. And then the other change, which is not included on this map, is the removal of the airport from the industrial DP area. The main reason for that is that the town owns the land. It's meant for airport uses only. And so when there's proposals that come for developers or anyone to build on it, it's usually done through a lease, and the town has control of what that building would look like anyway. So it's just an extra step for a client to go through, and it's just felt that it's not necessary. That's the major changes of Schedule F at this time. The other one is the duplex properties, but I'll touch on that in a minute here. So as I mentioned, in the applicable area, the exterior building material and color guidelines, any new building material must be of local and historic reference. This will not hinder a property owner from replacing aging roofing, siding, or windows with like-for-like materials. There would be no DP required for that. So if someone has a part of stucco, just say that's falling off, even though stucco is permitted, but if it was falling off, they'd be allowed to replace it, no problem, without a development permit. It's when they go to do a major change where they change the whole facade, change the entire or partial of the building material, where they'd be required to get a development permit and follow those guidelines. So just to touch on the second paragraph here, for properties within the applicable area, a DP will be required prior to changing the color of the exterior of the building, in which the applicant must demonstrate that the proposed color complies with the guidelines. Staff are recommending that the CAO be delegated the authority to approve these permits with a $100 fee. These changes will help to provide a consistent look and feel in the downtown area. So an application form will be developed, which will likely require an applicant to submit a paint sample, one of the paint cards, and rationale as to how their proposed color meets the guidelines. The other major change is requiring DPs for duplexes. So it's the addition of duplex zone properties to the multifamily development permit area. In the past, the town's practice has been to not require development permits for the construction of duplexes. This has led to construction with a plethora of asphalt rocks and limited green space, with low quality form and character in a few examples. Staff are recommending that amendment be made to the delegation of council authority bylaw to enable the CAO to approve these permits. This will allow an expedited and more cost-effective option for the developer. And that'll be a fee of $375, which is the delegated development permit fee, which is the same fee for water course and environmentally sensitive development permits. This will help to ensure that DP guidelines for form and character and landscaping standards are met. The next slide is a perfect example. It's a local example of a duplex on Fairview Road. I just wanted to, I'm not trying to pick on anyone here, but this really will get the point across. So on the left is the proposed building permit plans. There was no DP required. So you'll see it's a two-story duplex side by side. It shows, yellow hardy board with some hardy shingle siding up top with different colors. It has rock work along the bottom, picture windows. It has these patios, little entryways here with railings. It includes landscaping along the front with trees. It has separations of the driveway. All of those things are proposed in the building permit plans. Well, on the right is what can result if you don't require a development permit. Since the building official can't control what type of material gets built and that it matches the plans, as long as the structure is similar, right? They wouldn't have to come in for a BP amendment. So on the right shows basically it was done plain stucco, the entire thing, very wide driveways, no separation. Whether they end up putting in the landscape or not, I'm not sure, but through a development permit, a landscaping deposit is able to be submitted to the town. And then if they don't meet the conditions, then the town's able to, they have the authority to go in and hire a landscaper to complete the works on the property. And also I talked about just the material of the building as well. So I just wanted to kind of give you a picture on this, what happens often when DPs aren't required. When a DP is required, here's some examples. It's the main thing is the landscaping, the separation between different driveways, the different building material types, so the variations in colors and the different projections. And on the right, of course, is just a nice looking duplex with porches and things like that. Other DP guideline amendments, the subdivision of land will be exempt from a development permit in the town center, commercial, multifamily, and industrial DP areas. This is because it's not necessary at the time of subdivision to know the form and character of a future building. Multifamily guidelines will be amended to discourage vinyl siding and encourage higher quality finishes such as hardy board or stucco, which will improve the look of buildings. And chain link fencing will be permitted in the industrial area as visibility through fences enables a friendlier face to the street rather than closing in the property with a solid fence. Several recent applications and developments have been approved by council with chain link fencing rather than the recommended wood, stone, and metal fencing. Other bylaw amendments, the delegation of council authority amendment, which will provide the CAO with the delegated authority to approve development permits for duplexes, as well as development permits that authorize changes to the exterior color of buildings only. This will ensure that high standards for design and landscaping are adhered to through a permitting process that's less expensive and time consuming than a report to council for approval. The land use procedure bylaw amendment, it'll provide clarity on the different processes for both delegated and non-delegated development permits. And then the fees and charges will add that $100 fee for delegated development permits for the exterior color change of a building only. The facade improvement program, just a quick slide on that. It'll apply to property owners that are zoned town centers C2 and C3. For properties within that area, for properties within the exterior building material and color guideline area, any new building material or paint color will need to adhere to the guidelines. For any owners outside of that area, such as the commercial areas that aren't in that applicable area, then only the DP guidelines will apply, which will not get into specifics about building material or paint colors permitted. And the implementation of this program will still be discussed with council at a later date. Options for council are that the committee of whole refer the proposed bylaw amendments as presented to the January 11th meeting, so later tonight. So the committee refers it to that meeting for first and second reading. Or the option 2 is to refer it with any conditions or any changes that council recommend. Or option 3 is refer it back to staff. And with that, the staff recommendation is massive. So I will just leave it there for council's, for council to look at for now. Thank you, Chair Schwarzenberger.
Thank you, Mr. Houle. I know you'd like to lead that there, but I gotta have, I need to see everyone, so. Is there anyone who wishes to ask any questions? And I'm sorry, with that screen, I still can't see the hands, but I see Councillor Mattis waving, so Councillor Mattis.
Thank you, Chair. I might as well start this off. I had some concerns with what's being proposed. I think there's a lot of changes here, a lot for all of us to digest all at once. It's a big report with a lot of changes, and we're imposing a lot of things on a lot of people here. Some of my questions, where do I begin here? I'm a little concerned with picking paint colors and putting it in there, and then having to have the person building justify why their paint is a different shade than the paint that's there. I think we should stick with descriptors, where the landscapes, the viticulture, that sort of thing. And then because to have specific shades, if we were to follow that, I'm not sure that I would like the look of our town if every building was painted those colors, the ones that are proposed. I throw out an example. In this permit area here, we're looking at having a Dairy Queen put in. I don't see any of their colors on that color scheme. So they're going to have to come before the CAO or someone and justify why they want to use corporate colors. So basically, we're making it difficult for any corporations that have a corporate standard to come into Oliver. And we're going to charge a fee and then make them fight to get what they want. I don't agree with that. I had concerns with the like for like wording. And I'm not sure that how does that allow? Okay, if a piece of stucco falls off, you're allowed to change like for like. You can replace the stucco. What if I want to upgrade windows? I need a development permit as well as a building permit. It's putting another layer of bureaucracy on people here when a building permit will suffice when you're doing improvements to your building. That sort of thing. At extra costs and charges, some buildings in the area can go any color they want, and other buildings we're telling them what color they can go. I don't think that that's fair and equal treatment as well. One of the things that came up, jumping to the duplex, I think, or maybe all of it, is we're discouraging vinyl siding. My question is why? It's an acceptable building material, comes in a variety of colors. Some of us may like it, some of us may not, but I'm not clear on why we're discouraging it. Why, that over any other building material? Are we going to discourage stucco next? Are we going to discourage other building materials? I don't understand the logic for that. I think it's opinion based, and we shouldn't be having opinions in here. These are standards. It's not based on what we think, so to speak. Again, going back to the duplex or multifamily, whatever you want to call it, if someone wants to add an in-law suite, will they be subject to these regulations? Because it will be now multifamily, so to speak. I'm not sure that we should be stepping in that direction to be controlling. The next step we will be picking paint colors for every house in town. I don't like the direction that we're headed here. If we're going to go anywhere, we should go the other direction. People can build what they wish in that regard, as long as they're meeting the building codes. And there's beautiful blue houses in town. There's all kinds of different things. I'm not sure why that particular one on Fairview, which I think turned out fairly well based on the plan that we were showing, was used as an example. The desire for this will create too much uniformity. Is there anywhere in this that it will have the opportunity for someone to appeal to council? If they don't like the response, if they want to use different things, what's the appeal process, or is the word of the CAO the final edict? I think there's a whole bunch more work needs to be done on this, and I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you. I do have participant lists that I can see, so I would appreciate it if you put your hand up electronically if you wish to speak. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this proposed bylaw amendment? Councillor Grice.
There we go. Thank you, Chair Schwarzenberger. Yeah, I would echo some of Councillor Mattis's concerns, and I have some questions about process as well. So if there's an existing building on Main Street and they want to repaint, so now they've got to get a development permit and then go to the CAO to pick a paint color. It just seems a little bit onerous to me, I think. I think it's important to have design standards, but I don't know if that's really the best manner to proceed with this. I think having, as Councillor Mattis had suggested, giving ideas of concepts, landscape, viticulture, that sort of thing, rather than having, I don't know if we're meaning to give people a Pantone color and that's the specific color they need to use. It's a little bit too restrictive, I think, and might lead people to not bother even, giving facelifts to their buildings on Main Street. I'm not sure I like the direction that this is going in. Those are my thoughts for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ventimiglia.
Thank you, Chair Schwarzenberger. So I somewhat agree with the comments that have been made already. I do see that we're potentially adding another layer of bureaucracy to some of our processes, with new development permit and new fees attached, which makes me hesitate a little bit, but I do think that the concept is a good one. I think it's one that we've been asking for a while, and I think that it starts to move us in the right direction. I just think that there has to be some sort of a happy medium and a way to make it happen without complicating things too much. I think that demanding design standards for our downtown core doesn't mean that everything's going to be, five colors and there's only 5 colors and that's the way it is. I think that as a council and as leaders in our community, we're allowed to have a vision for that space, and to set out guidelines to make sure that that happens. And I know that it happens in other communities. So an extreme example would be Whistler, where even corporate brands have to follow the guidelines that they have set out, and they do it if they want to exist in that municipality. But maybe a less extreme example would be Osoyoos. I know that they have color guidelines for their downtown area. I don't know where specifically, but for sure the Main Street. And so I assume that it was a part of the process of creating this report for council. And if not, I'd be interested in knowing how is it done in those communities? What are the extra layers there? What are the extra processes there? Do they have a list of 30 colors you can choose from, or is it sort of broad strokes? And when I saw that color palette provided to us, I took that as broad strokes. And so obviously that needs a bit of clarification. I took that as, your guidelines, which is what it says, and points of reference, not exactly, you can only use these 6 colors with no names attached. So I think that, in my opinion, for what I would like to see for our downtown and for our business core, I think we are moving in the right direction. I think that we absolutely should be demanding design guidelines and standards going forward, especially seeing how much open space we have and so much opportunity for development, for redevelopment, for upgrading and that sort of thing. But I would be interested in knowing how it's done in other places, and making sure that we're doing it in a way that doesn't discourage people, that's just a part of the process that they get used to. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ventimiglia. Mayor Johansson.
Thank you, Chair Schwarzenberger. I guess I'd just like to start off by thanking the Director of Development Services. I think there's a lot of work that was put into getting this draft put in front of council, and it's definitely a good starting point. My comments, I agree with a lot of the comments that I've heard this evening. Probably the one that sticks out the most for me stems off of the $100 fee for the paint color. I just thought, man, we're starting to charge maybe nickel and dime people that want to do stuff in this town, and it just seems a little bit much. And just about the regulatory process building in this area, hoping that we don't put something in place here that's going to discourage people from wanting to do to build or create development in the downtown core. I think a little bit more work is needed on this document. I don't know how we do that. It almost seems like a document that could be workshopped. But those, I guess at this point, those would be my comments. I think we've got a good first draft, and it's always tough to put something out there. But it's a good starting point, and I think it could get us to where we want to go at the end of the day. Those would be my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Johansson. My comments would be similar. I think, I looked at that report and I took the colors to be examples of the guidelines, not those exact colors. I mean, the shades can be different, but they're talking about a certain color palette, and I think that's what was asked for in the downtown core. I do agree that I think we should look at this a little more, maybe have a committee of the whole meeting in future that just has this as the one item so that we can go through and decide on things like $100 charges and that. Apart from the duplexes, this is only applicable in a small part of downtown where council has already decided that we should implement some guidelines. So I think this is a good first step, but I would agree that it needs a little bit of work. Councillor Mattis.
Thank you, Chair. I certainly appreciate the work that Mr. Houle put into this as well. There's a lot of effort there, obviously. My understanding is the way I read it is that those are the listed colors. I did like the mayor's idea or concept that we should have a workshop on this of whatever sort and maybe go through it on a paragraph by paragraph basis and have discussion around all of the different things and come to some decisions.
I don't see anybody else's hand up. Oh, Councillor Ventimille, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to add that I think that that's a great idea, the workshopping idea. So whether we can do that at a future committee of the whole as suggested, and that's like the one and only item, or we have a good solid amount of time to work on it together, or, as a separate meeting, even like before our next council meeting. I think that we should get on it sooner rather than later, especially knowing that this also plays into our incentives for upgrades in the downtown core. We need this piece done first. So I would be in favor of doing that within the next month or so, as soon as we can, even at the next council meeting.
Thank you. CAO.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Schwarzenberger. With regards to the comment regarding the approval by the CAO for when it's delegated out, whenever council delegates out anything, the applicant always has the opportunity, should they not agree with the decision of the CAO, to come before council. That's usually right in the bylaw itself that states that they have that ability to do that. So if they want to have your thoughts on that, they can get that through that process.
Okay, seeing no further hands, I'll ask what is council's wish on this matter.
Chair Schwarzenberger, I'm not able to raise my hand, so I can't.
All right, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to quickly touch just regarding a couple things that came up that just to answer, just provide a bit of clarity. Regarding Councillor Mattis mentioning an in-law suite, the intention would not be to do it would only be for duplexes. And regarding colors of buildings in town, throughout town, under the Local Government Act, you can only apply colors and get that specific in the downtown areas, in downtown revitalization areas. So you're not actually allowed to dictate what colors throughout the entire town, but just in that downtown area. And that was it for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Ventimille.
Just as a follow-up to Director Houle, in your research for this report, did you see how, what the processes are in other communities where they do have these sort of a little bit more restricted design guidelines in their downtown cores?
Mr. Houle, go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Ventimille. I did a bit of research. I know Summerland had them and they were looking at getting rid of them. Same with Karamias was actually looking at getting rid of them. So, I mean, like I said, the direction I had was to look at design guidelines. I thought this was a pretty good approach. And the Downtown Advisory Committee also reviewed it, and they actually recommended to apply it to they really liked it and wanted to apply it to the entire commercial area. So just with the direction I've given from council, this is the stab that I could come up with. I would honestly recommend if council wants to do a workshop and go further, then look at including a budget for a design professional to do this, because I mean, I went at this with the best of my knowledge, but I'm not an architect or a design professional. So that may be worth finding a bit of, staff could find out just the cost of doing an initial little workshop with a consultant and then prepare that for budget for 2021. Thanks.
Councillor Grice.
Thank you, Chair Schwarzenberger. Not that we want to be adding to this, but I'm going to. And I didn't see this in here, or maybe it is, but one thing I think we've discussed before that's important for our downtown core is to be maintaining a heritage look and feel with our buildings, especially if we're with new construction. So I don't know how my council colleagues feel about that, but I think that's something that should be part of our design standards if it's not in there already. Thank you.
Councillor Mattis.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if it's required or not, but I would be happy to make a motion that staff be directed to schedule a workshop for council to discuss these particular changes.
Do I have a seconder to the motion? Mayor Johansson seconds. Thank you. Any further discussion? And I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed to the motion? Hearing none, the motion is passed. Sorry. Public question period. I don't see any members of the public on the participants list. Diane, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any further comments? Anyone opposed to the motion? Motion is carried and we are adjourned. Thank you. Diane, can I see that, the actual wording of that motion that we just passed? Thank you. That one, yeah. Great, thanks, Diane.